It's International Week, and for this episode of One Kick from Glory, we're going to go and review the summer transfer window that's just gone. Look at all the business all the different teams have done to try and evaluate who's had a good window and who may need to go back to those old clubs and ask for a refund for their signings. Before we get into all of that, I'm joined as always by Craig on my left and by Matthew over here as well. So, of course, with 10 games into the Premier League season, it's been a lot of excitement, a lot of drama. We've seen one club in West Ham who are far exceeding most of the expectations I think people have had for them for this season. We've seen other clubs who are having a bit of a rough time. Let's just say the driver at the wheel isn't quite doing the job needed, but may that driver continue. And as for the rest of us, we're all kind of doing what we need to do to get by. So let's start off by looking at, let's start off by looking at the champions and the business that they've done. So of course, Manchester City, they had a lot of players leave. They only brought 2 players in Scott Carson as a backup goalkeeper and Jack Grealish. Speaking of Jack Grealish, what's your impressions of him been so far this season, Matthew?
I'm not gonna lie, I sometimes forget he's there. That's not me being hard on him. He's still clearly a very, very good player, and I feel like he's just trying to find his place in an already very talented pool of players in that team. I mean, he's managed to keep players like Mahrez and Sterling out, but whenever I hear or see like the Manchester derby, I barely heard his name. I mean, I don't even know sometimes if he's even starting. So he had a part where he was scoring 1 or 2 goals. And I know he's doing well in the Champions League, but your bread and butter is the Premier League. I think he's scored that 1 goal, a tap in against Norwich. I don't know if he's actually scored since. Has he scored since then? I'm not entirely.
Has he scored? No.
Yeah,
I don't think
Champions League, he got his date. No, it doesn't really.
He features a lot in the Champions League. I know he scored a couple and done really well in the Champions League. But again, Premier League is your bread and butter. It's your basics. It's your fundamentals. It's your priority. I'm not going to say he's a flop because
He's only got 2 goals this season.
he's only got 2 goals.
1 in the Champions League, 1 in the Premier League.
I'm not, again, this is always the issue when a player like that moves from a club where he is the man, he's the captain, he's the talisman, he's the one they look to. It's always going to be a thing of, is moving to another club with already certified stars the best thing is it for the best? Because I know he's getting Champions League football, but there's no real threat of relegation, and they're challenging for the Premier League this season, and they are the reigning champions, like you said before. But what's the point if you're a bit part player? I mean,
that's a good point.
What's the point of it? Has he just faded? Has he just faded to back? Has he just faded to back? Because there are other players there. When you talk about Man City doing well, he's maybe 5th on the list, if that. So he's not a flop. No, not even in the slightest. He's not a flop. He's going to get time to kind of mould in. Maybe a couple of players need to move on. He's still going to have time to. He's used to the league, which is a big advantage. So he knows what's expected.
But on that point of saying is he a flop, would you not argue though for the? I wouldn't even say for the outlay given, so the money they've spent, and the impact that he had at Aston Villa last season, and the impact that you would expect him to have for Manchester City so far. It's not really justified so far, is it?
Not for 100 million. Not for a guy like he had a good year in the Premier League last year. Not the best Euros. Didn't really feature as much. Maybe I'm being a bit too kind because I do have a little bit of a soft spot for him in a way. I do see what he can do, and for a better team, he can do it. So maybe if someone wanted to call it a flop and be harsh about it, I couldn't really disagree too much. I can see exactly where they're coming from. So he's probably a bang average for 5 out of 10 he's done so far, if that.
And for you, Craig, how would you look at Jack Grealish's performances so far for Man City, considering the expectations, considering the how he performed throughout last season, and I guess how he would have wanted to kick on this term? How do you look at his start so far at Manchester City?
I think once he understands what Guardiola wants from him and the system he plays, so that when he was at Aston Villa, he was the main man, as Matthew said. Now he's at Man City, he's playing with a whole heap of star players. So he needs to find his role in the team. And once he finds his role in the team and understand how his teammates play more, I think he'll score goals for them. Because remember, you got people like Foden, you got Silva, you got De Bruyne, you've got Jesus, you've got Sterling and Mahrez. So he has to, kind of stamp his authority in a way, like earn the respect of his teammates. I think a lot of his teammates do respect him, but you know what I mean, like show that I can do this at this club. We know what he did at Aston Villa. You were amazing at Aston Villa. You were the talisman. You were the captain. You were the leader for them. But now you're playing a different team now, so you have to show what you can do.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very big point. And I think that's part of the issue that he has, is that the team he's in, it's like everyone's fighting for their positions. And you're seeing it in Bernardo Silva, who there was so much talk over throughout the summer that he'll be the one to let go and move on. And yet he's one of their key performers this year. So it's very tough. And I guess we're going to move over now to the next team who have done a lot of business. Another team who, not say they've done a lot of business they've done a lot of business out. A team that are, they're top of the league right now, the Chelsea. So you guys made 3 signings this summer. You got Bettinelli in from Fulham on a free. You got Lukaku in for big money from Inter Milan. And you brought in Saul Niguez.
Who?
Exactly. Let's talk about Saul. He came in, and I for one was quite impressed with him as a player. I think he's very tidy technically. I think he can do a lot. And I was quite excited to see what he would bring to the Premier League and how he could add that little extra flair from central midfield. I think on paper you could see that he would add a lot of what Kovacic does, but maybe with a bit more spice to it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, people were expecting fried rice, maybe authentic J Rice, and instead we got Jamie Oliver. For you, Matthew, how much of a disappointment has his signing been?
From the first game at Aston Villa, that first half, it was first game he started. I'm like, is this the same person that they bought? Is this the same guy? And since then, I think he's barely featured in any couple Champions League games. He's kind of faded to back. I mean, players like Barkley and Loftus-Cheek, they've come back into the frame to show, that's just how much competition he has ahead of him, because they're 2 very good players, bear in mind. They didn't feature very often, but they're both on loan last year. But it just shows you how even that, the competition is stiff. It's a case of he's not playing in Spain no more. If he's gonna stay, he needs to bulk up. He needs to kind of toughen and realise that the Premier League is a different animal.
But it's not just the bulking up. For me, it's the lack of awareness, because you have players that come to the league, and of course the pace is one that takes you by surprise. I think that's one of the things that's affecting Sancho in his adapting, but we'll get to him in a bit. But that's one element, is the pace. But the other thing is the time on the ball. And some players feel like he played like he was in the park. Bruv, you ain't got that much time. You got players around you from smaller teams that they want to prove that they're about it, and you just were moving like you weren't.
They'll come for you. They will. Like you said, they will come for you. Like, the Premier League has changed so much over the years, where you got a lot of like you said, the smaller clubs. Even if they might not be firing on the cylinders at the moment, you still have even 1 or 2 individuals there who will come in and remind you of where you are playing in and what league it's in. And especially if it's a smaller club, they're going to try and fight for that survival. If they can smell weakness, if they can work the ball to be on that one player all the time, they'll work that. And they'll be like, if he's the only weakness in that 11, fine. We'll try and make it work to our advantage. And in that first half at Villa, it nearly did. It nearly did. They gave us a properly good game. So taking him off made the difference, especially in the second half when we properly picked up. So yeah, he needs to remind people of who he is and just kind of come back, really. The good thing is, it's only a loan.
That's true. And I think right now he's probably looking at the worst signing of the summer, comfortably.
Possibly.
I mean, there's another candidate, and we'll get to him soon. I know he's had a lot of nicknames throughout this winter. I've seen some really funny ones, but we'll get to him later. But I guess for you, Craig, looking at the other business they've done. So Romelu Lukaku, Chelsea, he's out injured right now. His goals also did dry up. I had backed him to become the Premier League's top scorer this season.
Don't blame me.
Anyway, less said about that, the better. For you, looking at what he's brought since coming back to Chelsea and the effect that's had across in the games they've played with him, how impressive you've been with Lukaku?
I think when the first opening games that he played, he was scoring goals. But I think what he brought to Chelsea, he reminded me of Drogba-esque, the Drogba of when he was holding the ball up, bringing other players into play, and the way he was helping the younger players, like the young players, like showing them what they need to do and drawing them in and said, look, I'm a winner. I'm not here just to be like a one player. I want to show you guys like how to win as a team, and how together we can become unbreakable. And I feel that his injury was unlucky. It was every player gets injured, but I feel that his impact has been good so far. Hopefully, when he comes back from injury, the goals will come back again.
I think so, yeah.
And I know Chelsea have won matches since he's been away, but you still need someone like a Lukaku in your team to score goals.
A focal point.
Point, yeah.
I think that's been the saving grace for them, that they haven't missed him too much. That they've been able to kind of get around not having him there in the team.
Definitely.
And it's important to utilize your money wisely and who you bring in and how you kind of improve what your team needs. We're going to go across to Liverpool, and they only brought in one player, in Ibrahima Konate, this summer, which is quite interesting because there's a lot of, I know for quite a few Liverpool fans, there's a bit of, obviously they're doing okay this season. I think that this with the league placements, I think there's always going to be room for things to go up and down, and their positioning as it goes on will kind of shift and change around a lot. But one of the concerns was about refreshing their front line and refreshing their key players in key positions. So central mid, Wijnaldum left, they hadn't replaced him. Obviously, Harvey Elliott came in early in the season, looked really, really strong, really, really aggressive, looked very, very promising. He got chopped down. He's out for a while now. Ox is Ox. When he's there, he needs a run of games to get into it, and then when he gets into it, he looks quite exciting. You've also got our boy Naby Keita. Again, another one. Needs a run of games to kind of show you that quality, and then falls off. So I think there is concern in terms of them not bringing in players to freshen things up. I know they've got people like Jota who's starting to show his class and kind of integration with having last year to get used to the team, and now kind of starting to excel, and in some regards keep Firmino out the team. But they need those other players to come in to kind of
chipping the goals and all that,
and also to slowly kind of phase out Mane and Salah. I say slowly because you want to have players to keep pushing them to new levels. So for you, looking at the business they've done, obviously there's only one signing in. Do you feel like it will be enough, or do you think that Liverpool need to, in January, bring in something extra just to give them that extra push?
For me, yeah. Well, I know last season they struggled because they had Van Dijk, and a few of their players were injured. I feel they do need to invest in the squad in January if they wanna challenge for the title and Champions League. I think they're going for the Champions League again this season.
I feel like they're going for both.
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah, I feel they need a striker and a wide player, but who's available and how much money have they got to spend? Did they have to sell before they can buy? Because they didn't really spend a lot of money in the summer, as you said. So we don't know how much money they got to spend, and that's the big issue. Other teams have spent more money than them. So I don't know if have they got an exciting young player in the youth academy that could come in and do something, but like how they had Curtis Jones came through.
Yeah.
So we don't know who the next one coming through.
But even then, even if they did have an exciting young player, that's asking a lot for them to come in and match performance levels of Salah, who is playing like the best player in the world, and Mane, who, as inconsistent as he can be, he's still going to do something. He's one of those players that he can frustrate the life out of you. You might miss 4, 5, 6 chances, then bang, one goal. So yeah, that's another thing you got to be mindful of.
Well, I think in January Mbappe can sign a pre-contract agreement with any club, foreign team, from January 1st. So I think if Liverpool really wanted to go make a statement signing, they should go for him. I would say if they really wanted to make a statement signing, I would go for Mbappe. If you want, I think he said he doesn't mind working with Klopp, so that would be a good signing for Liverpool if they can get him. But I don't know if anybody else is available and if they can afford it. Any other player.
If they want to spend that money.
And would they spend the money as well?
And who would they get rid of?
That's the big issue. You'd have to sacrifice one of your key assets, and I don't know if they should do that right now, much less would they. And then we move over to the team that had always have a lot to say, make a lot of noise, but they can't really, let's be honest, when it comes down to actually winning stuff, haven't won anything for a couple of years now, but they're very happy with their bus driver. And long may he continue. Let's talk about Manchester United. Ollie is very much at the wheel, thank God. Just keep him there as long as possible. But they obviously made some big signings this summer. Tom Heaton being the most low-key one from Villa. But they brought in Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane, and of course the return of the crown prince, Cristiano Ronaldo. They should be doing a lot better this season. I think it can be strongly argued that a central midfielder would have been an essential piece of this puzzle to really complete it.
Mm-hmm.
But putting that to one side, looking at those players they've brought in, do you think it's, for you, Matthew, do you think it's been a good, like, of those four?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, let's talk about Jadon Sancho. Let's not even be around the bush. Jadon Sancho. Yeah. It's disappointing right now, to say the least. It's just a disappointment. How does he come back from this, and how do they make it work?
He's got a lot of competition ahead of him because he indeed has someone like, he'll have Ronaldo to compete with. He'll have Rashford to compete with. He's also going to have Greenwood to compete with, and Greenwood is on good form at the moment. And I think it's, of all those guys, he's the one he's got to be fighting against the most. He had a lot of promise coming over. They paid a lot of money for him. He didn't, and that's despite him not having the greatest tournament. That's always the thing that struck me. The big money went on him. I think because he's 21,
22.
He's 22, so he's got years ahead of him. Didn't have the best of Euros, and if this was a previous year, they probably would have paid more for him. I remember he was up for nearly 100 million. We were talking about this before. Is the same thing with Niguez? Is the pace too much? Is being in Dortmund? I'm not saying it's definitely not damaging, because he's a fantastic player, fantastic young prospect who I think will only get better under a better coach and under a better system. But is that jump from there to there a bit too much? Is he not? He's definitely playing a less cohesive team. So even if he is there, he's not going to necessarily have the impact that he had once at Dortmund, because they're going to know that he's there. And again, the competition ahead of him, they're just. The two main ones are just doing better for him. They're more likely to score. Greenwood was scoring before Ronaldo arrived, and now Ronaldo's arrived. He's scoring in every other game, saving their bacon. So it's clear. I feel for him, because he's come with a lot of promise, and he's got a lot of shirt sales, but there's not a lot of minutes. There's clearly something that he can do to get back into that team. But when he got Ollie at the wheel, would you really want to?
True, but I guess the argument would be then, because I know sometimes with players you go for a rough patch, and you almost need to be played back into form, because sometimes you need, so like I mentioned Ox earlier, and he's a player that needs a run of games to one is like rebuilding back his match sharpness, and then he gets a run of games to get his form back, and then you start to see him really flying. Do you feel like Manchester United should just persist with Sancho until it works, Craig?
I feel they have to build a system that works for him. To build a team, try and build a system that can get him effective, like how he was at Dortmund. I feel the system they built at Dortmund for him, he was like maybe most like the main guy at Dortmund, and the system they played, or not. But the system they played helped him.
It definitely helped him as a creative outlet from the wide areas and having the space to attack. And
But I feel maybe it's because the price tag could be a lot of money they paid for him. Maybe feeling that pressure as well, the weight on his head. I thought if he can get a goal, all he needs to get a goal or assist, and that boosts his confidence, and he'll be fine. I thought it was. He needs time to. I know he played England when he was younger, but I thought the youth team didn't really play in the Premier League before, so he needs to. I think if he just gets that one goal or assist, I think he'd be fine. I mean,
he's gonna be assisting to probably probably the best. You're assisting to probably the best player in the world.
Yeah,
I think better feeling than
I honestly feel his confidence is low. I think his confidence is very low after the Euros and everything. His confidence,
the penalty miss.
Yeah. So I think his confidence is very low. I think he just needs someone to give him an arm around him and say, "Listen, you're still a good player. We believe in you." I don't know if Ollie's doing that with him, so he just needs someone to give him an arm around him and say, "You're a good player. We believe in you. We know what you can do. Just go out there and show the world what you can do."
I would say that the manager probably isn't doing that, because if you think about Donny van de Beek, what does he have to do to get? I mean, in a situation where they've been underperforming, why not start him? Give him an opportunity to try something different.
Definitely.
So I don't know if Ollie is doing that. Maybe they're trying to challenge him to maybe there's an issue of him not being off the pace. Maybe he's trying to adapt to the speed of the Premier League again, which he was last year when he was a child, when he was younger. So. And he didn't really play much in the first team for Man City or at Watford. So it takes a while to get used to the league again. So maybe that's what it is. He's just adapting to the pace. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame that he hasn't really been given the opportunity to show his best.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's got his teammate like Varane, and I mean for Varane, it must be so frustrating playing at the back with Harold Maguire. I just don't get it. Like
From Ramos to Maguire.
He's like thinking like, how did I get here?
he must look around him and think, I've got Maguire one side, I've got Baye on the bench, I've got Lindelof as well. Like I'm just surrounded by incompetent defenders, like, or then behind me, I've got the goalkeeper who just sometimes is just like, I'm not gonna save the ball. I'll just push it in the net because that's just what I'll do this week, and then I'll look at everyone and play. Like it's a joke, man. Man United are very interesting in what they because they have all the firepower to blow teams away. And yet they have a manager that has no structure, no system. So it's like you can't even utilize that.
Definitely.
So they have to use the Ronaldo get out of jail free card every single time. And even then, that doesn't always work. So it's just, it's crazy, man. It's
bizarre.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it at all. I'm going to go over to the team that had a lot of chat this summer. I don't know why they were talking up all this kind of smack, trying to bid for some of our players for no reason. Aston Villa sacked their manager Dean Smith. Heavily linked to Steven Gerrard. It's likely to be confirmed in the next couple of days. But what a waste. I just think they have wasted their transfer funds this summer because so far it's just not working. Jack Grealish, you look at it and you almost think you should have just rejected the deal and kept him for this season and then stick it out. But let's go through what they've got. Emi Buendia, so far,
flop.
Just not impressed. Ashley Young. I mean, he's great. Must be great around the training pitch. I think.
I forgot you even went there.
Yeah, must be great around the training pitch. They got a couple of younger players as well. Josh Feeney and Finn Azaz. I don't know much about them.
Leon Bailey. They got
Leon Bailey.
I think he's been in a success. I think he's done well when he's played.
I don't think Leon Bailey's done well.
With some games, 1 or 2 games, he played all right. No. He came off the bench one game.
As one of the key players brought in to replace Jack Grealish, I think he's not
big hole.
No, the only player I think's done well for them is Danny Ings.
Yeah, he scored goals for them.
When he's not injured.
That's the only one I can probably sit back and say, yeah, I've had a good start to the season. The rest of them, nah.
Oh, disappointing.
Bailey is below because at the end of the day, they brought him in specifically for his creativity and what he would bring to the team, and maybe even some of the goals as well. But that hasn't quite happened yet. Yeah. I feel like them selling Jack Grealish has not really
hasn't
worked out, and they're going to need players like Buendia and Bailey and Ings to kind of step it up a level, and then Ashley Young to maybe get minutes because he's on the bench most of the time.
So Aston Villa did a Tottenham then when Tottenham sold Gareth Bale a couple of seasons ago and they brought all those players in,
pretty much,
and it didn't work out.
6 years time to replace Grealish with Grealish.
Yeah, something like that.
Much.
Yeah,
and you look at that list and you wonder, like, come next year, how many of them will probably still be there at Villa? Like, would they move players on? Like, if Buendia doesn't pick up, will they think, okay, should we cut our losses in the end of the season? Obviously, it's 10 games. It's early. He probably still needs to adapt. But they spent a lot of money on him, expecting a more instant impact,
assist, and
it hasn't quite materialised at all. So it's a bit of a disappointment. We're going to save Arsenal for a little bit. We're going to come to Arsenal in a second, but let's talk about Crystal Palace. A team that I think we can all safely say they're a team that we're all very impressed with.
Definitely.
Patrick Vieira is showing that, that job in red and white might become calling sooner rather than later, but Jet Back is doing a good job so far. But yeah, I'm impressed by what he's not been there very long. They made some very smart signings. Mikel Olise, the standout player for me of the players they brought in. I say that. Conor Gallagher might argue with me about that. Odson Edouard might feel like he might be in the shout, but they've made some smart business. So for you, Matthew, looking at what they've done, especially for Conor Gallagher as a Chelsea fan, looking at how well he's performing, do you think he would be better suited staying there next year on a permanent with you guys having some sort of buyback clause, or would you bring him back and try him in your first team?
I was reading they might even consider signing him in January because if it's going literally so well. He was very instrumental in that game against City when they won, and even in other games he's just really impressed, showing just how good the Chelsea talent foundry is. It would be a shame to see him go, but you owe a player like that who's doing so well at another club to see them go off and show what they can do a product of the Chelsea academy at another club. There's no prouder feeling of seeing someone who's worked so hard to finally get that game time, because you all know it's a harsh world. There's no guarantee that you're going to get a place in your parent club. Chelsea are the kings of that. Absolute kings of producing all this talent, but there's no guarantee that you're playing. It would be interesting to see, let's say, I don't know, like a pre-season thing, he comes back and there's a couple game, but I would like to see him go somewhere. And I personally wouldn't mind seeing him go to Palace, especially as if he's going to get that guaranteed game time, which he has gone so far. I wouldn't mind him going. Because I just know how tough it is, and I don't want to see us go through that thing of that reputation of having all this talent but never giving it a chance. We've just started doing it. We've seen how much it works. We've got a Champions League and a Super Cup with it. Why not go further? But for the others like him, Tomori who's gone, Gilmour who's somewhere else, Abraham's in Roma. Give him the chance. So I wouldn't mind. I'll be interested to see what it'd be like a free pre-season game, but I wouldn't mind seeing him go, especially if he get a guaranteed game time all the time.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what he does. I think he's definitely impressed me with his performances. Obviously, they've also got Odsonne Edouard, who started off quite well, scoring goals. I think they've done some smart business. Who would you say, aside from those, is a player that stands out to you, Craig, from Palace?
It would have to be Colin Gallagher.
He's the one.
Yeah, he's the one. And Elise has also impressed me as well. He's done quite well. I think in the summer everyone had Crystal Palace to be the relegation favourites, but I think Vieira.
Not you.
Not me.
You had Burnley.
Yeah,
I had Burnley. Yeah, I didn't have Crystal Palace. I said I believe Patrick Vieira will do a good job, and he's got a balanced team. Benteke's been doing well.
Yeah, Benteke surprised me. He's stepped up big time and getting those
like,
goals.
I think he's got his confidence back again. Vieira's giving him confidence again to score goals. And I think Zaha's always been good for Palace, but I think this season he's added more to his game. He's getting goals, getting assists again. He looks more happier again.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like Palace are going to do well this season. They'll get maybe top 10.
They could be surprised of a season. It really could be.
And the defense is quite good as well. They got the guy playing Anderson as well.
Oh, Joachim Anderson. Yeah,
that's the one I was thinking of. Young kid. Yeah, he's good.
He played well at Fulham last season, so they got some decent players in. So we'll see. And they got Eze to come back as well. Eze was a good player for them last season before he got that injury. So Crystal Palace have got some decent players.
Right.
And I got Tyrick Mitchell as well, the left back. He's a good player.
That's the one I was thinking of. Mitchell.
Tyrick Mitchell. Yes,
he's a very good player.
Is he from their academy or something?
Yeah, he's from their academy. He's from Harrow, you know.
Yeah,
he's from Harrow.
Good player, man.
Local guy.
Some proud right there, man.
So from a club that we all admire in South London to a club that I love in North London. Obviously, talking about the Arsenal, the one and only. We'd never talk about the other lot. Anyway, so we've done a lot of business this window. I can safely say that a lot of us were very skeptical at the business done. Quite a few fans were very upset. A few of them made some banners. I didn't make any banners. I just expressed my feelings as a normal person. But I feel like we have to take our hats off to the recruitment team, to Eddie, to Mikel Arteta, because they had a strategy, they had a plan, they stuck to their guns, even with the backlash that came from the fans, and they can sit back and feel happily justified with the business they've done so far. Now, that's not to say that we want more from some of these players, because I feel like a few of them could do more. But every design they've made so far has justified, and some of them have completely surprised us with their performances. For you, Craig, who has been your signing of the summer for Arsenal so far?
Ramsdale. Go give him a clap, because I was one of them fans. Like I was looking at, like he'd been relegated twice. Like I was like, I'll be sure by this player, but he proved some of his performances this season. He's been vocal at the back. He's helped the defense. We're a solid unit now. We're not conceding as much goals as we used to anymore. And I feel more confident when he's in goal. Another one I would say has to be Tomiyasu. Since he's come in, Tomiyasu has done very well at the right back. And Ben White's been a good signing as well. His partnership with Gabriel has been very good. Since he's come back from injury, the back four has been amazing.
I think for me, the big one is Tavares.
Yeah,
because I feel like when I watch him, if I'm Kieran Tierney, I'm feeling like,
I've got to step up.
I got to step. Because the thing with Tierney is we've always loved his direct running, we've loved his crosses, we love the fact that, you know, he gets the ball and he goes. But he's very one-dimensional how he plays as a left back. It's always cutbacks and crosses, and he'll cross the ball into an area where none of our players are. So it's a wasted cross.
Yeah.
Whereas with Tavares, he's like Danger Mouse. You don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to go outside on his left? Is he going to cut in on his right? Is he going to cut it back? Is he going to try to push it around you? You just don't know. And it's his teammates are a bit like, we're not quite sure what to expect. But it's great to have that in a player.
He needs excitement in it.
Because
Unpredictability,
it's just like,
innit?
you know, what are we going to do? How are we going to stop him? So I think that's been really exciting. Obviously, Aaron Ramsdale has done phenomenally since coming in, and he's really shut up a lot of people. Ødegaard, I think, needs to step it up. I feel like he is not quite. Yeah, he's got more in his game. Like the free kick he scored against Burnley, that was good, but we need more of that. We need more of the kind of aggression in his play and more of the incisiveness in his play. So that's the thing that's missing so far. But I think I feel like the club have done a very good job of like who they've brought in. I've been quite impressed with the signings. Like I said, Benjamin White, as he likes to be called. Like they're slowly putting together something. For you, Matthew, when you heard that Arsenal spent £150 million in the summer, and you looked at the names that had come in, and you thought about how badly we finished the previous season and what we needed to do, did you feel like it was good news, or did you feel like, oh well, there's nothing, like Arsenal just messing about again?
I was sceptical. I was sceptical because, you know, your board have previous of doing this kind of business where it's, you kind of don't, almost like you don't take it very, very seriously by who you buy. And I know you shouldn't get stuck on name buys, but some of the prices were a little bit outlandish. I know we were wrong about the Ramsdale one because that so far has turned out to be a bit of a bargain. And even the Ben White one, you can kind of justify in a way because he's still very young, and as a centre back, he's only really gonna get better with age. You know, you've got centre backs playing until they're 35, so providing he stays fit, he's got time. And it was just the fact that it was just with a club like Arsenal, you expect them to have a particular kind of player that they want to go after for years and years and years. I've always said, I'm surprised they bought him, is Zaha. Someone like him, a guy who, we've said before, can win games on his home, can take the ball, take it by the scruff of the neck. He's a luxury player and the kind of guy you can tell him, do what you do best, and he will do that. Let everyone else protect him, let him run, take control. He's the kind of guy that can do that, and I think you still got time if you wanted to buy him. You're kind of expecting players like that in a way. I think we still look at it and say, like, a team like Arsenal, and regardless of the form you're in now and the fact that you're not in Europe, you are still Arsenal. So we always have that thing of they're going to go for this, that, and the other. I'm not going to get into the history of the players that you could be linked to, but you know, it's always weird. Like, you know, go to teams like Tomiyasu, never heard of him. Tavares, never heard of him. Lokonga, never heard of him. Odegaard didn't shine very much last year, but you know, I know you got ones who can step up. But some of the signings have done really well since they've been here. Ben White's coming on. Lokonga, when he had Partey next to him, is fantastic. Tavares, I mean, must be hell for opposition. You don't know what he's going to do. You know, I'm going to say more about Ramsdale, that's what's already been said. And what helps is the players around you. Look at Emil Smith-Rowe, recently got his England call-up. Deservedly. It kind of brings the players around you as well. So if a Aubameyang or a Saka might flop, someone else will step in. So far. So your signing so far starting to work.
But I want to say this quickly, what Matthew just said, but it reminds me when Arsene Wenger used to be Arsenal manager. He used to buy all these unknown gems. You never heard of them before, and then it turns them into superstars. So it could be another transitional period again where we're bringing in these unknown players and they do well, and they might be sold on in the future for big money. You never know.
I'd never actually thought about that Wenger comparison. That's actually a very good point.
It was, because when Henri came over, he was an unknown entity.
A lot of these players we hadn't really. Well, no, he had won the World Cup, so Henri.
It was raw though.
It was raw,
but he molded into the player that he became.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued to see how it's all gonna pan out. I mean, right now Arsenal are 2 points outside of the top 4. Liverpool next. It's gonna be one heck of a game. 6 points off first. I'm not saying win the league, but it's not that like considering we lost the first 3 games of the season,
And we've come back.
it's not bad. The biggest issue is goals because we have 0 goal difference because we've scored 13 and conceded 13. So that's our biggest problem right now. We don't score enough goals. So if we can sort that part out, might be in for a nice end to the year. Right, who are we off to now? Who are we going to talk about now? Who do we talk about now? Let's talk about Leicester.
Okay.
Leicester City and their signing. So Patson Daka came in. I think I've been quite impressed with him.
I like him.
Still needs some development.
Done good in the Europa League.
Scored a lot of goals for them.
But I mean, yeah, they got Daka came in. They got Birchman, Boubacar Samare, Yannick Vestergaard, and Ademola Lookman.
So the bench
I think Daka's the best of that bunch. Or maybe Vestergaard, but he doesn't really start all the time. He comes off the bench, shores things up. But I think we can safely say Daka's the best of that bunch.
I like the midfielder as well, Samari.
Yeah, he had a nightmare game against us though. And he had a nightmare game the other day.
Yeah,
He had a two-bag
Not
game.
Samari. I think
Leeds,
Daka.
I
Yeah, I think Daka's a good signing for them. He'll score goals. He got the best striker or one of the best in Jamie Vardy to learn from as well. So
yeah,
he
it
will
kind
learn.
of splits for load because you have Vardy for some and Daka for
Yeah.
others. You don't like you're replacing Vardy. You're just taking that load off him because even though despite his age, you want to try and keep him
And
that kind of speed and that bravado that he has.
And a lot of games this season as well because they're playing in the Europa League as well, and they're playing the League Cup, FA Cup. So they need they need a big
Cup,
so
true
they need their squad, their big squad. So yeah,
Domestic treble, FA Cup, Charity Shield.
So I guess the big question to ask then, because obviously looking at transfers, it's a gamble a lot of the times because you can have an ideal player that plays well for one club, you bring him to your club, doesn't perform, or he performs below expectation. So like Grealish, you could say he's done okay, because he hasn't really done bad. But if he cost a quarter of the fee they paid for him, but just at that level for that club, you want more. Because I think he's a good piece, a good cog in the wheel of everything. But I don't feel like he's that transformative signing. Obviously, looking at a place like Everton, they've made a lot of signings. Andros Townsend, Demarai Gray, both started off like a house on fire. Really, really impressed. Last few games, they've been a bit wobbly and a bit shaky. Thinking about all the teams, and we're gonna focus on the bottom teams because I feel like that's more interesting now. Burnley, Newcastle, Norwich. Right. You had let's take Newcastle out of the equation for now because we've already talked about who they need to do and what they need to do and stuff. But let's say Villa, Watford, Burnley, and Norwich. Those 4 teams. You want to stay in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Right. What would you do? Because obviously you're gonna need to buy someone, preferably. But what kind of business would they be able to do in January to keep them up? Norwich are going to need a goal scorer above all, I think, because if they can outscore, because they ain't going to show up at the back. So if they can outscore people, that might be the way forward. Have they got any manager now?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
They're still
Yeah. So the goal scorer they're going to need to get, and a goal scorer that can come in and just bag goals. Who would you think? Okay, so you're Norwich now. You're the manager. What would you do for January? Bearing in mind you've got 5 points. It's 5 points of safety. You're minus 21. What do you do?
I look for a striker alone because there's no point buying a permanent striker right now. Because
Who would you look at?
Nketiah.
But his contract ends at the end of the season, so Arsenal wouldn't
Or
necessarily.
Balogun. Balogun's a good option. I know he's young, but he's been scoring goals for fun in the youth leagues. I think give him a chance in the Premier League to see what he could do.
But if you're Arsenal, would you send him into that environment? Because you know that every game week, the pressure on to win is high, the pressure to score is high.
No, but
not everyone thrives in that environment.
I would feel like it would be good for his development just to put him in that pressure situation. Because you're playing for a big club like Arsenal, you're under pressure all the time. The way everything you do, you're under scrutiny. So I feel that him going to Norwich or any of them relegation threatened teams, it will help him with his development. He will get better and give him confidence to score goals and help the team stay up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who would you sign for Norwich, Matthew?
I don't think it's a case of signing, but maybe play Angus Gunn. Who had a cracking year for Southampton last year. Give him a chance. Krul ain't working no more. If Craig's saying going for a striker, give a break to the man between the sticks. Gunn is younger. He's more familiar with the league, the standard it is right now. Tim Krul's fed up with the yo-yo-ness from Championship to Premier League. Why not give Gunn a chance? What's the work? He's already your player anyway. Why not give it a try? I mean, a striker from the Premier League. But if you are going to go from a striker from the Premier League, that's difficult because who's going to actually let them go? You could always say go out and loan an academy prospect because there's no real danger of them staying. They're going to come back anyway. But it depends on the situation. How many? They're 5 points off safety, which is.
It's not a lot, but then that requires everyone around you to also lose. So
and you can't always guarantee to be. You need to be in those control in those kind of situations.
So it's a lot.
I think you said Nketiah, Balogun. Well, why do I think that there's someone else who can kind of go down there and be the guy, loan from another club, and be the guy that's going to be like, I'm going to help you guys, kind of stay up. Because I know Pookie's not doing it, but Pookie's experienced. Pookie's been there. He's done it once. He can do it again. When the first time he came up, at least the first half of the season, he's actually scoring for fun. He scored in the win against Man City. Yeah. He scored against us. It can be done. Maybe it's just kind of a new lease of life. I think the problem is they have too many young kids who probably don't know what it means to kind of stay up in a battle. So how are they ever really going to understand? I think you need a couple older heads in there to kind of help, because you got keepers an old Gunn and Krul, indeed, if you want to put him in there. Ben Gibson from Burnley, he's an older head. They need experience. They need experience with those that means to fight for fight for staying up in the Premier League.
Yeah, what they need to do is I mean, maybe someone like Dwight Gale could be like a cheeky punt to get on.
That's not a bad idea.
I thought about that one as well.
He's got goals in him.
Yeah. He's got goals. He's not playing that much at Newcastle. Why? And it frees up a spot for that marquee signing they kind of want. That's not a bad idea.
If they wanted to buy someone, they can have like a Zap. For a good fee, obviously, like not for cheap. Nah. Okay. So Watford. Because they're not, they're like 17th on 10 points. They could go on a run.
I thought Watford didn't replace Troy Deeney last summer when they got rid of him.
As a presence.
He was more than as a presence. He was a leader. He was helping the young players out. He was a big presence in that dressing room.
He got promoted twice.
Scored some crucial goals for them in the Premier League and in the Championship. But I know last season he hardly played for them. He didn't play a lot of games for them last season in the Championship. I think he was in and out of the team last season.
Like a semi-coaching role, shouting from the kind of sidelines.
But I feel when Arsenal played Watford the other day, I feel like Watford have got some good players. I like Ismail Sarr.
Yeah.
I like João Pedro. He's a good player.
They had a few chances. They had a few chances. They weren't threatening, but they had a couple chances. That another day they might put away.
So I feel that they have got. I think maybe they need a striker, like a good number 9 that will score goals for them. A solid number 9 that will get them goals. Their defense is not bad. They've got some good defenders.
Keeper's okay.
Keeper's good. Foster's always been a good goal. Well, yeah, it's always been good for them in goal. It always gives you a 8 or 9 out of 10 performance every week.
They saved the penalty as well.
Yeah, so he's a good keeper.
Did I have really much of a focal point? Josh King.
Yeah, Josh King.
Yeah,
he's not there anymore. He's gone to QPR now.
Oh, he's left?
He's gone to
no,
QPR.
Josh King's there.
No, Josh King. Not Josh King.
You're thinking of someone else.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the other guy. He's
Josh
gone to
King,
QPR. What's his name?
He scored a hat-trick against Everton the other week.
Not Josh King. I'm thinking of what's the guy that was there last season for them? The striker. What's his name again?
I can't remember.
Andre Gray. Andre
Gray.
That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
I was just like,
Andre
Josh
Gray.
King's still there.
Yeah.
Andre Gray.
He may be stinking out the joint, but he's still there, mate.
Andre Gray. Yeah.
He won't come back from that. He's keep it up and pushing promotion push on their own.
Yeah.
I just think he's a good striker. He's a good striker though. For them at least, anyway.
Well, Josh King.
Maybe add in.
I think Josh King's okay. My thing is with like clubs at that level, you need more goals, man. He's got 3 goals, 2 assists. Ismail Sarr's got 4 goals. Emmanuel Dennis has got 3 goals, 3 assists. 3 goals is not bad in 9 games, but you want more,
of course,
if you want to keep them.
If you want to push up the table.
What about their midfield? How's their midfield looking?
I mean, Tom Cleverley's still there.
They've got Sissoko. He doesn't score goals.
Dan Gosling is there somehow.
Yeah, got Tottenham rejects and him.
They've got
Rose.
got like Kuka.
Kuka.
He's
It's Kuka, the physical midfielder.
Yeah,
that one that
the
got sent off.
enforcer.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all right. I like, I don't know.
The team seems okay, but just not scoring that often, or not scoring the chance. We're not scoring the chances. Like it shows when you score, when you put away your chances, the result goes your way. He did it against Everton. Didn't do it against you.
King could have scored that chance in the last minute.
Should have scored. Should have. And then the other guy, he should have scored as well.
Who?
Was it Kuka? I think it might have been Kuka had that chance. Yeah. Another day he might put that away. I think it's a case of maybe adding another striker just to kind of take that kind of a more adept striker to the English style of play.
Yeah.
And just start scoring. Because their team isn't bad.
To close, who's our signing of the summer? There've been a lot of players that have come in and done really well. But who would we say overall so far has like been the best deal or the best signing so far? Doesn't that like, and that's a hard one because I think different players have done different things for different teams. But who would you say so far across the league is like the standout signing?
Tough one.
Can we have a top three?
Go on.
You go because I'm still thinking of mine.
I would say in no particular. I'll say the first one for me has to be Ramsdale because he could get us. He could get us maybe into the top 4 this season if he continue on that same form. I'll say Ramsdale. I'll say Gallagher. 'Cause I think if the way he continues at Crystal Palace, you can get him to the top half of the table, maybe top 10, top 8. And my last one. Who else? My last one gonna be trying to think who else would be the last one.
Really tough.
I'll say Lukaku. Once he gets back from fitness, if he gets back from his injury and starts firing again, he could fire Chelsea to the title.
He's hoping. I hope you're right.
He could. He done it last season with Inter Milan, so I can't see him not doing it again.
Yeah,
so
found that form.
So I'll say them. I'll say Ramsdale, Gallagher, and Lukaku.
Okay, Matthew, who's your 3?
I want to throw in one wild card in there just because I'm impressed by what he's done, stepping into a big, kind of a large role in the team. He's not starting his season, but he's one I've been impressed with. And that's Jose Sarr, keeper for Wolves. I actually think he's done really well to kind of step in with Portuguese international Patricio going the other way. He's come in and kind of lately results have been kind of going their way. Again, they're doing everything right, but now it's starting to kind of see a bit of fruit bearing. I'm gonna go with 5, like a 5-a-side team. Keeper's got to be Ramsdale. Got to be Ramsdale. You haven't lost. You haven't lost since he's been in there. He barely concedes. He's vocal. He's young. He's been player of the year twice, albeit I think the whole relegation thing put a down on it, but clearly it shows that it wasn't his fault. And his age, I said before, with goalkeepers, he's only going to get better. Only going to get better. I'm going to throw one of my boys in there, but not who you think. I'm going to throw in Trevor Chalobah because he's come through. He's technically a new signing coming from the academy, so losing Zuma wasn't a massive disaster.
I'll give you that one. I mean, it's a bit of a grey area. I'll let it.
It is, but you know why? Because he's come in, he's taken on that role. He's recently signed a contract. The games he's played, he's been really well, and he scores. He's another goal scorer that's not a forward. So good on the man. Keep fit, keep strong, and I think you're going to be absolutely fine. Odsonne Edouard. I'm going to go. I'm going to go for 2 Palace players. Odsonne Edouard and Conor Gallagher. I think they're only going to get better. Palace keep their form. I think they're going to be absolutely fine. There's going to be no real troubles there. I need to go for one more person. I'm going to go with a Wolves player. It's Hwang. Hwang, because they've lost. He's taken on that burden from Jimenez as well. If Jimenez doesn't score or turn up, Hwang will. Adama Traoré, not playing Adama Traoré clearly is not an issue because he will score. They're managing well without him. I like his attitude. I like his energy. He's always kind of smiling and kind of happy to play in the Wolves. They're doing quite. I mean, where are they in the table? I think they're mid-ish table. Because they never do draw a lot. But I think he's a good addition to already very talented team that clearly selling like players like Jota and Højbjerg hasn't helped them too much. So so Hwang, Edwards, Gallagher, Shalaba, and Ramsdale. That's my team. What about you?
So my five, if I'm gonna go 5 as well, I'm gonna go similar approach as you've done. So Ramsdale in goal. I'm gonna have Kurt Zuma at the back.
Good, yeah.
I think he's been really good for West Ham, not Palace, West Ham, and as such, I think he definitely should be in that squad as a player. I'm also gonna have Damari Gray, even though he's gone it's a bit hit and miss right now. I think he's coming at Everton has definitely really added a lot of extra sort of flair and creativity to their team. With Conor Gallagher, so that's me up to 3 now, right?
3, that's 3.
Is that 3? No, is that 4?
No, you got Gray, Zuma, Ramsdale. Yeah, it's 3.
Ramsdale.
3.
Yeah, it's 3.
Yeah.
So that's number 3. Gray, Zuma, Ramsdale. Number 4, Conor Gallagher. I think definitely will be one of those players that you look at and think, yeah, going to be up there in terms of the players. That will be one of the, maybe even might be in with a shout for young player of the season. Although I think Smith Rowe will push him, but we'll see how that pans out. And the last player I'm going to name is actually Cristiano Ronaldo.
Why not?
I think he's coming and
Definitely.
he's doing what you expect from him because of his standards. But to return and already be Man United's best player.
Yeah.
It's like,
what does that say about
He left Man United as the best player. He comes back as the best player.
He's 36 years old, and people would have said that he would start to slowly fall off, but I don't see it. I see him getting better and better as the weeks go on and performing more.
He's the only player doing anything, really.
That's the thing.
Yeah, someone's got to do it.
So yeah, so I think we'll call it a wrap. I'm really interested to see what a lot of these teams do in January. Obviously, we all know Saul Niguez is comfortably the worst signing of the summer. Jadon Sancho is lucky that Saul came in, because if it wasn't, he would probably be number 1, which is unfortunate because I think we all know he's got a lot of talent, but it just hasn't quite worked out for him so far. And we'll see how it goes, and hopefully everyone's players come through the international break quite nicely. Our next episode is going to be another special. We're going to talk about why we love our clubs. We've talked about the players that inspired us, but what is it about our clubs that we love so much? And we're going to dive a bit more into the rivalry. So we might have a guest with us as well to talk about the little rivalry between Arsenal, Chelsea, and of course Tiny Tots as well, and how we all think about them, and the other rivals that we have in Liverpool, Man United, and those lot. But for now, thanks everyone for listening, for watching. If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're listening online, rate it 5 stars, leave a comment and a review. If you're watching on YouTube, like it, share it, all that good stuff. Have a good rest of the day. Take care, and we're all gone.
Peace.
Respect.